I am joined now exclusively by Mica's father, Michael Francis, and her big sister, Destinee Barrientos. Thank you to both of you. And may I just say I am so sorry to be meeting you under these circumstances. And my heart goes out to your family in dealing with what you are coping with. I cannot imagine being in your shoes. Michael, if I may begin with you, you feel that the investigation has been less than complete, to say the least, on Mica's death. What do you believe happened? What is your theory of how Mica died?
My theory of how Mica died? Well, I know she was pushed to the brink. I know that there is no reason for her to be out there in that area. We've never been there. She's never been there. I mean, my theory is broad right now. There's bruises on her hand. There's injury to her other arm, like a handprint. And these things were not documented, and they do not show up for no reason. And we were not satisfied with the answers that we were given in the entirety. It didn't seem like enough was done. And we just want more answers. We want more checking into this.
And Destinee, the investigators still have not released Mica's personal possessions, like her cell phone in particular, which is a pretty critical piece of evidence. Tell me why it is so important for the family to get those things back.
Mica had been gathering information to help with her divorce for quite a while, previous to her commitment to the hospital that was unwilling. She had all of her stuff on her phone at that time and her laptop. When she was committed against her will, John Paul had went to the hospital to pick up her items, deleted all of her information off of those items, and held them till they were past the date that we could recover anything. So it's very vital for us to get this cell phone that she currently had, because we do believe that there could be quite a bit of evidence on there.
Michael, one of the things that I think has stuck with a lot of people is that Mica met John Paul when she was in the youth ministry in the church, when she was just 14, and he was a leader in the church. That did not escape a lot of people. Ultimately, they ended up married. But is there something that you and the family know or feel or believe about Mica's claim that she was being groomed from the time she was a child?
Absolutely. Yes, her demeanor changed over time, and she became more and more compressed, less and less of herself. And as soon as they got married, her behavior went downhill fast as far as being her lively, jovial self. And she seemed to be more sad, more under control, and didn't seem to be her free self, didn't seem to be able to accomplish things she wanted to without him causing them to end. She would do something amazing, and he would shut it down and would not repeat functions. I just believe he really compressed her. I really believe that he just sucked the life right out of her and caused her to go downhill from the moment after they got married, the moment after he forced her to have a certain surgery, and she had a violent reaction from the anesthesia, and he took advantage of that.
What kind of surgery are you saying he forced her to have?
I would rather not say.
Okay, I understand. But I do want to pull on that thread a little. Do you believe that John Paul Miller had inappropriate sexual contact with Mica before she was legally allowed to be in that kind of a relationship? Do you think there could be charges in terms of the age difference between them?
Right. I'm unaware of anything that occurred when she was still a young teen, 14 or so. Destinee, do you have anything? I'm not sure.
As far as him reaching out to her and continuously texting her while she was a teen, he convinced her to get away from our family during her teens, told her that he would find different households for her to live in within the church to get her away from our family, as well as he helped her get a car and told her to find adults and tell them stories that they could trust, to get her away from our family. And that's how he initially isolated her during her teens.
Do you think, Destinee, that he was having a sexual relationship with her when she was underage?
That I can't lay any claim to. I'm not exactly sure to the extent of the relationship at that time, other than the getting her away from the family, getting her to talk to other people, and putting her in homes of other family members. But that is when I believe that the initial grooming did start.
And Destinee, just describe some of the changes that you saw in your sister after she married John Paul.
Mica was so full of life. She was funny and energetic, someone that just lit up every room that she walked into. And once they were together, especially for that first initial couple years, I mean, she just deteriorated. She was not herself. You could see that maybe she was starting to, you could see just the downfall in her personality as far as becoming sad or trying to put on a mask to not let people in of her own private, from what I'm finding out, on her own private hell.
Michael, is there a chance that you and your family will launch any kind of civil litigation against John Paul Miller, whether it's wrongful death or whether it's an encouragement for the police to launch criminal charges for anything they may discover in the evidence that we've been able to unearth, the stalking and the harassment, the physical evidence and the admissions and the emails, even to our producer, that he had done those things?
Absolutely. We're going to push for every law that can help and push for laws that don't even exist yet. We need a lot of support. We need people that can help write new laws if necessary, and staff this situation to springboard forward and protect Mica and also protect anybody else in the future. And we'll definitely pursue that. Wrongful, everything. He has caused terrible pain and tragedy throughout this.
Michael, what was the last conversation you had with your daughter, Mica?
It was about, it was the day before, gosh. It was basically about how things were going. I was talking with her about music, and we wanted to do some recording, and she just absolutely had no signs of anything drastic in her life that would be that bad. She did mention that she was feeling some depression, and she was didn't understand. She didn't understand why this pressure was coming back, because she was feeling better and better the longer she was away from John Paul. And I believe it's due to the stalking and the slashing her tires and causing her just pressure, as she felt like she had to look over her shoulder all the time. So she felt like she needed a weapon to protect herself. So, this is not normal. She was not in a situation where we would think, oh, we need to be watching her, or, I left, she was doing fine. She had a job, she was moving forward. And then suddenly, here we go. Here we are.
Michael Francis and Destinee Barrientos, thank you so much for being on the program and sharing this information. And please keep us apprised of anything that happens in the coming days and weeks. I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.